I tell you, it started for me, well, even before I got to FAMU, when I started watching the band back in the day when my brother attended school here at FAMU, majoring in psychology, and we would go to the Tampa Classic at the time. It was still the Florida Classic, but it was held in Tampa. And so when I saw that band once in Tampa, I told my mom, I gotta be in that band. Oh, wow, Paris, France. I mean, I was finishing up that second degree, as I mentioned, in music education, and Dr. Foster, of course, and Dr. White received an invitation. But first of all, they received an opportunity from John Paul Gould to come to the Florida Classic at that time in Tampa because he wanted to see the band as the French government was getting ready to celebrate their 100th anniversary. And so he visited the Florida Classic game. I guess that would have been my second to my last year, and was just overwhelmed with the amount of spirit that was in the Tampa Stadium and how FAMU band performed. And so we received the official invite that was sent to, I think at that time, President Frederick Humphreys and Dr. William P. Foster. And there it was. They were willing to pay $500,000 to fly 250 members of the band, plus another 20 or 30 faculty, staff, administrators to Paris, France. And so, man, to be a part of that, and I was graduating because I had just finished my student intern, but blessings to Dr. Foster for allowing a few of the alums who had just graduated that spring semester or summer semester to make that trip. I want to say there was maybe about 15 of us that had just graduated, since we were part of that experience the year before when the individuals saw us there. And so to be in Paris, France, and we stayed on the campus of University of Paris, and also staying there was the Russian band at the time, and got a chance to really experience what it was like in another country. And I tell you, that was something special. First of all, it was interesting because we found out very quickly that the folks over in Paris eat lighter than us over here in the United States. And so we found ourselves eating a lot of bread and water and very light meat. I mean, that's just the way it was. And everything that they had, even the Coke bottles that they had, everything was smaller. And lo and behold, through the practices that we were having 2 rehearsals a day and then being able to go on tours during the middle part of the day, and it was just fabulous. We got a chance. We found out there was a McDonald's in Paris that was about 3 or 4 miles away from the University of Paris. And boy, when we found that out, everybody went running down to this McDonald's because we finally wanted to have a Big Mac. And that's a true story. I'm not just saying that. And so it was a great time. And then, of course, when we had the dress rehearsal there were thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that were there along the Champs-Élysées. And of course, the Arc of Triumph was there. And just to see all those people following the FAMU band, and it was decided at that dress rehearsal that the FAMU band was going to be the culminating event or culminating unit in the parade because of how excited the Parisians were about the FAMU band the night before. So we ended up being the last unit in the parade, and I tell you, I will never forget that experience and seeing the Eiffel Tower right there, not on paper, not on a clip of any sort, but it was right there in front where we can go over and touch it. And then, of course, all the museums that we got a chance to see while we were there were just very special. And again, just another bucket list that if I were not in the Florida A&M Marching Band, I would not probably have had the opportunity to attend, at least not at that time in that setting.
Experience the Florida Blue Florida Classic. Get your tickets now at floridaclassic.org.
My senior year, Dr. Junie White, who's my mentor, as you know, and former director of bands and chair here, was guest conducting the all-county band in Miami, the superintendent's honor band. And he auditioned myself and a few other students for music scholarships. And I was able to receive a scholarship my senior year and got $300. That was a lot of pork chops back in the day. Right now, these students would probably say, $300, what is that? But, you know, that was very much so the start of my career. God bless America. 1, 2, last time, push up. Blood, sweat, and tears, as they say. That's what we believe in. And, you know, we believe in working. And there are no classes that are going on for that week or those 10 days that we normally have pre-drill session. And we're just trying to get in and grind and, as we say, find that 10th of a point to help elevate each individual. And some of them, you know, they move a little slower than others, but they find very quickly that if they're going to be a part of the Marching 100, that they got to step it up. And then we get into have our show planning committee meetings with our students. That has been a long tradition here where the band staff ultimately make decisions, but certainly our students are very much so a part of the music that we know we want to be relevant with our community here on campus and the Rattler Nation. And then of course, being very mindful of the, as we say sometimes, the West Side as well. Because those people love the 100 and they love FAMU football and they love FAMU basketball and athletics in general. And so we have to make sure that our music is very relevant to all the population. And that's one thing Dr. Foster over the years and his staff has always made sure that the band is projecting music that everybody can appreciate.
Finding out about the Paris trip really still is a blur for me because initially we were told of a performance and it was a high level performance, and usually when we get those type of performances we don't really get too much information, so a lot of things are kept under wrap until it's like really time to announce. But the day we actually found out, I actually got to find out a little earlier because of my position at the time. I was president last year as well. I got to find out a little bit earlier, so having to hold that in and knowing like what was going on like behind the scenes that the band didn't know, and then finally it being put out that the band was traveling to Paris, all expenses paid from Louis Vuitton. I didn't believe it at first, I'm not gonna lie. I really didn't. I thought, okay, maybe this is like a in America type thing, like maybe we're just doing something for Louis Vuitton, or maybe it's like not necessarily directly Louis Vuitton, but like someone associated to Louis Vuitton. And so I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. And then to find out like we were actually being scouted from Louis Vuitton and they were actually seeking out us, it just felt like, well, the first thing I felt was honored because I got the opportunity to be in that type of position and I was in the right place, right time, and it just felt incredible and it felt lucky. I felt lucky and honored. And then after that, I started to feel a little weight from it, because it was like, okay, now this is history. Like, so this is gonna be talked about for a while, and this is gonna go down for a long time. So I had to like realize the weight and the responsibility that came with it. And so I just locked in like I do with most performances. I just start thinking about what the performance is, what it means to people, and how I can effectively perform at my best. So initially they did actually have like outfits planned out for us. But between all the customization and the fittings, they just decided that it was just best for us to look in our normal uniforms. And I agree with them, because that FAMU March 100 look in those uniforms, it's classic. You can't get wrong with that March 100 uniform. The FAMU going down the back, like everything about our uniform is specified to look visually pleasing and aesthetic. So them seeing that and realizing that made me feel even more prouder to be in my uniform, because that means the same uniform that I'm in, the same uniform that generations have been in, even though uniforms have changed, the meaning is still behind the uniform. And it felt great, it felt empowering, and I put on that uniform like no other time when it was time to perform. It just felt like, okay, now it's a different, like there's people out there, like there's celebrities out there. And it kind of gave me a new idea of how to see the Marching 100. It's kind of like, we're also a sort of type of well-known celebrity too, because we represent ourselves well. Whether we're going down to the local high school or whether we're going to Paris, we're treating the people we're performing for the exact same. That show is unlike any other show we perform in the year. Even though it's still technically just another like football game, home or away, it has a different type of energy when practicing for it. Whenever we practice for it, our two biggest shows as far as practicing is either Homecoming, which is coming up, and Florida Classic. And those two shows, whenever we're in practice, there's a different energy that comes from practicing on or being on the field for them. Because a lot of those type of shows, Homecoming and Florida Classic, especially Florida Classic, a lot of people attend those games, so a lot of people have seen those performances. Those performances gone down in history as some of the best marching band performances on both sides, either Marching 100 and Bethune-Cookman. And it just, that game specifically, the Florida Classic, is unlike any other. It's one of the biggest classics in HBCUs. It's people coming from all different, like across the country, just to come back and feel that rivalry. Even though it's a rivalry, we still have that level of camaraderie in it too, because we'll still, like, yeah, we're enemies, but we're all here for the same purpose. Like, we're here to put on a show, we're here for the game, we're here for the band, especially the band. That's a big part of that culture as well. And it's just, I feel like it's one of the best cases of HBCU culture, because it's just positive vibes, healthy rivalry, and we're just there to have a good time.
Florida Classic is very special to Floridians. It's very special to people who know about HBCU football and HBCU fan bases that love their teams and love their bands. And of course, the Florida Classic has grown to be one of the most coveted HBCU rivalries in the country. I mean, we've had as many as close to 70,000 at the Florida Classic, and even now it's continuing to build. The momentum has already started because, you know, we have students in the FAMU band, just like Dr. Wells does at BCU, that are from the same high schools, they're from the same communities, and everybody wants to win. And we certainly here at Florida A&M want to always be the winner. And we know it's a fan-populated poll that comes about with the Florida Classic based on the bands that perform Friday night in front of all those high school bands with the Battle of Bands. But it's nothing like Saturday afternoon on that gridiron when you got all those folks rooting for you, and they have high expectations. You know, there's a lot of assistant band directors out there to Dr. Chipman beyond those who are on this campus. You know, those that think we should do this show or should do this, and so getting ready for the Florida Classic is very special because, again, these students, they want to be successful. the FAMU band staff certainly wants to be successful. We want to make sure we're reaching the people, and we want to come out of there with a wow factor again that'll make folks wonder, man, they did that. And so we've highlighted different artists that are out there. We've brought them on field with us over the years sometimes, and we've done gospel pieces that have just inspired so many with Jen Leah back in the 90s, and of course, even last year we had this hammer idea where we had the hammer in the BCU and it dissolved on the field, and that was again our students, making some suggestions to us. But it's all in good spirit. Dr. Wells and myself, we're very good friends. I mean, just this past pre-drill session, I think we had like an hour-long conversation. We were just talking just about the trials and tribulations and excitement of band programs starting here at, of course, BCU and here at FAMU. And we're so grateful for the audience who welcomes both schools each and every year. And of course, without the football game, there's no Florida Classic. But certainly the bands bring an element to that event that certainly is coveted with the experience that everybody has, whether they're tailgating before the actual game, or whether it's afterwards and everybody's talking that smack about who they thought was the best this, the best that, best outfit, best mascot, best band, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we love the Florida Classic. The preparation that comes in it for us, again, starts with the show planning and ideas, and some things getting shot down, some things saying, yeah, we might do a little bit of that or play that particular selection. And I guarantee you, once we start to work on that show, it's all hands on deck, because the students know we going in hard. We going in such a way that everybody has to put in and leave there with nothing on the table. And so we love those preparations for the Florida Classic. We sometimes tell the students we need to prepare every game like we do for the Florida Classic. But you know it is. It's just the nature of the Florida Classic, and everybody wanting to look good and realizing, especially nowadays with videos and streaming and whatnot, as soon as you perform, it's out there. And we tell the students all the time, and I crafted this from Dr. Sylvester Young, that somebody is seeing you for the first time and somebody is seeing you for the last time live. So you want to make sure you put forth your best effort anytime you're talking about representing this university and certainly this band program.
The Florida Blue Florida Classic returns on Saturday, November 18th. Get ready to experience the greatest rivalry in HBCU sports as the Florida A&M Rattlers and the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats meet in Orlando. Don't miss out on the best bands in the land as the FAMU Marching 100 and the BCU Marching Wildcats show up and show out. Every play, every beat. Experience the Florida Blue Florida Classic. Get your tickets now at floridaclassic.org.